very good evening to all. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the fourth day of Science Festember, a week-long fest of science to celebrate World Science Day for Peace and Development. I, Kehkashan Khanum, going to be the host for the evening. Science is fun. Science is curiosity. Science is a process of investigation. It's about posing questions and coming up with a method. So, Society for Promotion of Art and Culture of Kareem City College has come up with the Science Club for Science Enthusiasts, a club that aims to provide a platform to young curious students for their independent science research, experiments, and projects. Science Club of Spark also aims to conduct guest lectures, student seminars, exhibitions, etc. To witness such a lecture, today we have with us Dr. Faiza Abbasi ma'am to talk on science and everyday life. Dr. Faiza Abbasi is the director at UGC HRDC. Presently, she is teaching various UG level electives like environmental studies in Islamic theology and wildlife biology in the Department of Zoology in Aligarh Muslim University. She has been contributing to the personality development of AMU school children through an American Center sponsored program at Aligarh Muslim University. She has pursued a diploma in Quranic sciences. Faiza ma'am also takes up creative writing in English and Urdu as her hobby. It is our proud privilege to have you today with us, ma'am. I now request Dr. Muhammad Moiz Ashraf sir, moderator of Science Club of Spark, to welcome our guest speaker. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Kakasha. Greetings to all. We all know that we are celebrating Science Festember, which is a series of events like web lecture, talk on science, and talk on science sci-fi movies. Today is the fourth day, and topic of today's lecture is science and our life. On behalf of college management, I welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Faiza Abbasi, who is director of UGC HRDC, Aligarh Muslim University. She has a specialization in environmental studies, and so I think she is very suitable person to speak on today's topic. We are grateful to her for accepting our invitation. I welcome Dr. Yahya Ibrahim, convener of Spark, who has always been a source of inspiration for students. I welcome all the faculty members and students who are present here to listen to our guest speaker. I also welcome Spark team members and congratulate them for coming up with the idea of Science Festember. I am sure we are going to have a wonderful session today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Radha Krishnan has rightly said, science has achieved more for emancipation of the masses than the wisdom of sages. It is the only subject that has brought a revolutionary change in our lives. So today we have Dr. Faiza Abbasi ma'am with us to talk on the connectivity of science and everyday life. To make the session more interactive, the talk will be followed by question and answer session. So once the floor will be open to questions, you can either type your queries in the chat box or put them directly by unmuting yourself. Without any further delay, I humbly request our speaker to start today's session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Kehkashan Khanum, for this very um, eloquent, I should say, introduction of mine. I acknowledge the presence of Dr. Muhammad Moiz Ashraf and also Dr. Yahya Ibrahim Saab. I consider him as one of our very own, being an AMU alumnus and working in the Kareem City College. And I acknowledge the presence of all the faculty members who are there in this session today and all the young, bright students to whom I have this opportunity of speaking on something that is very relevant for them. And that is, according to the topic given to me, the continuity of scientific thought, of scientific bent of mind, and of scientific inquiry that should not only be limited to our careers and to our professions, but that should be a part of everyday life. Because if we are making our daily choices, our daily preferences, and our everyday decisions on the basis of scientific facts and figures, then success will not elude us anymore. And then contentment in life will also be ours. Because if I have to put it very simply, science is truth, and truth is science. There may be certain mysteries in nature and in the universe which science has not been able to solve till now. But this doesn't mean that for whatever we have at hand, science is not enough. So you have done the right thing by joining the Spark. By first of all, I must congratulate the management of the Karim City College, because they have started this platform, and the evenings of the students are being put to very good use through this Spark Club. And as so, it's very, very appropriate, rightly so, that we are trying to enlighten our lives with scientific inquiry, and with a certain foray into science. Now, what I have said in the beginning is that we don't want science to be limited to certain career choices. It's not just that somebody who wants to become a doctor or somebody who wants to become an engineer or a scientist is the only one for whom science is the relevant cup of tea. Science is relevant for everyone. As a woman, I know, I understand how relevant science is for the kitchen, for the action of heat, and for the chemical reactions between ingredients, and for the action of time over ingredients when you are whipping up a certain dish, and for the permeation of tastes and textures of food between one and another. It is so important for the kitchen, it is so important for the household, it is so important for anywhere, and you know everywhere. Today we are interacting on this online platform. It is a gift of science. Today you can't imagine your life without social media and social networking sites. It's a gift of science. And the kind of lifestyle that we are enjoying today because of scientific progress is a lifestyle that even emperors and kings and queens found difficult to imagine during the medieval ages. During the ages when mankind had not achieved this kind of scientific progress, then simple things in life today, such as the road, such as the running water that is coming to our houses, such as electricity, and today such as ICT, computers, internet, things that are available for use and for quality improvement in life, even to a rickshaw puller, even to a farmer, even to those at the grassroots, are things that were unimaginable even for rulers and the most powerful of the powerful during the medieval ages. Now, the medieval ages, everywhere in the world, were the dark medieval ages. And they were dark in the sense they were really dark. everywhere, not just in Europe, not just in Asia, wherever there was civilization, and even if it was some kind of highly developed civilization, these were the ages of darkness, these were the ages of inequalities. And let me point this out to you and make this out very clear to you that today in our society we enjoy quite a lot of gender equality. We are giving such opportunities to women which were, again, I must say, unthinkable even for women of the elite class and even for women of the ruling class. Why? Because there was no technological and scientific progress. Because the only job for the woman, whether it was in Eastern societies or it was in the Western societies, today we consider the Western societies as highly developed, and we consider more gender equality and more modernization of the women folk in the Western societies as compared to the Eastern societies. It's a fact. But there was a time, 300 years ago, when there was very little technological progress, and the only role that was conceived of for a woman was to give birth to children year after year and devote her entire life towards bringing up these children. Because mortality rate for the child mortality rate was so high that in order to increase the evolutionary fitness, the family could not think of anything else for a woman except to give birth, except to increase the natality of the family. Today, we can think of various roles for women. Women are judges, women are prime ministers. One of my own favorite heads of the state of the world is Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, who is very efficiently bringing up her daughter as well as sitting in the parliament. Today, we can think of these different roles for women also, because technology has helped women come out of the house and has helped women emancipate it has helped the woman to emancipate herself from the regular job of giving birth, increasing natality and increasing fitness. Because with the help of technology, with the help of scientific medical progress, we have higher natality rates, we have improved longevity. We do not want families to have children one after another now. One or two is enough. Women have the time, they have washing machines, they have refrigerators, they have dishwashers, because of which they have the time to devote to their careers and to bring about gender equality in the society. So we have to be thankful to science. Now, you know what? It was not an easy cakewalk for science in the society. It was not. You would have all heard the case of Galileo, Galileo Galilei, the Italian scientist, who, poor thing, because of his genius, his scientific and mental genius, he could deduce and prove that the earth goes round the sun and not vice versa. The sun does not go round the earth. He could prove it, but because when he was saying this, he was challenging an age old missive of the church. He had to face opposition, he had to face death threat, he had to face the danger of being ostracized from this. He lived in Venice. He used to enjoy the peace and comfort of his tower on which he used to go, and with the help of the telescope that he had invented, he could make observations in the celestial world, and he could come up with the scientific discovery that the earth goes round the sun. But because it was challenging the Pope and the church, Galileo, poor thing, he faced threat to his life, punishment, execution, and Despite knowing that he can't be wrong, he apologized to the church and he said, I am wrong. I am sorry. You please continue to believe and you please continue to tell the people of the world that the sun goes around the earth. But spare me, spare my life. You know, there was this play written on the life and times of Galileo by Brecht. It's a very, very nice play, and it was adopted in Hindi also by Piyush Pandit. And when I saw that play, it brought tears to my eyes. This man, a genius, a genius who tells us for the first time that the earth goes round the sun. A genius who had the temerity to say that you give me a place outside the earth, that you give me a stick and I can turn the earth. And he was right, because he knew that the earth is not resting on the shoulders of Hercules, the Greek god. He knew that it is suspended somewhere in this space and it is revolving around the sun. Still, this man had to say, I will apologize to the church and to the Pope, because what to do? I like to eat chicken and I like to drink beer. And he said, I hate commerce, because commerce is about profit and loss, and I'm a scientist. For me, it's about facts, it's about figures, it's about philosophies, it's about thought, it's about scientific inquiry. But this world is governed by commerce. And he said, I'm sorry, I will not say anymore that the earth goes around the sun. If you like to believe that the sun goes around the earth, please go ahead. He died in this state of dissatisfaction. A scientist as great as Galileo Galilei, just because he was born at the wrong time, he was born during the dark ages, pre-Renaissance ages of medieval Europe. He died in this dissatisfaction and discontented self of his, that this lifetime of a discovery that he had made has not been accepted by the world. And more than 100 years after he died, when scientific progress was unstoppable, and when finally the church could not evade the scientific facts anymore, they issued a small statement. Oh, yes, Galileo was right. A single statement, and they were absolved of their responsibility of making a hell out of the life of this genius of a scientist and giving him a dissatisfied and discontented death. So I will now share with you my presentation, which, because of my background in the ecological sciences and in the wildlife sciences, is on another scientific fact. I'm saying this fact because I consider it a fact, although a lot of people like to call it a theory. And this is the most contentious scientific discovery of the past 300 years, which has changed the way we think, which has changed the way we do quite a lot of things. It has an impact in genetics, it has an impact in medicines, it has an impact in almost all of biological sciences. Today, any fact of biological sciences cannot be explained without this. But it also happens to be the most contentious scientific fact, again, between the clergy and between the scientists. And this is evolution. Evolution. And more precisely, I would say Darwinian evolution. Because when we say evolution, we mean Darwinian evolution. And when we say evolution, we do not mean the theory of evolution. We mean the evolutionary evidences, the evolutionary facts, which cannot be denied, no matter how much they are at loggerheads with certain, per se, beliefs of the clergy about the the origin of life. So let me share with you my presentation. Just let me know if you can see that. Mm, 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 mm. Sorry. All right, I'll share with you my a tab. So can you see my screen? Can somebody confirm, please, if you can see
Yes,
my
Yes,
screen?
ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, the entire screen, right?
Yes, the entire screen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for confirming. So we will very quickly talk about evolution because I think everyone finds it interesting. Why isn't it going? Let me check. So everyone finds it interesting, and I choose to speak on this topic of this very interesting topic of evolution. How do I speak in one window? Why there are two windows? Okay. There it is. So I am basically a naturalist, a thinker, and writer, and because the world has changed so much after the COVID-19 pandemic, and even in the COVID-19 pandemic, it is very relevant that we understand evolution, we understand the ecological collapse that is taking place because of environmental degradation all over the world, and because evolutionary evidences prove that Darwin was right. So, okay, I will give you a glimpse of like what I do. Um, as a naturalist, it's my job to, to visit these areas that are in the wilderness, and we don't work in laboratories, we don't work with chemicals, we don't work with lab equipment, if that's what you think science is all about. But we actually work in nature, in the field areas, we visit the wilderness. This is a picture of my students along with me visiting a certain protected area where we go, we watch birds, we interact with animals, and sometimes we do some animal handling also. Say for example, in this picture you will be seeing that we have trapped a bird, and we trap birds very very carefully. We have to handle the birds very very carefully, and then we take the blood sample, or maybe we have to apply a transmitter, a platform transmitter called PTT on the bird, and then we see the migration routes that come on our computer with the satellite. So it's a very interesting career to be a part of, and it has helped me, it has helped me understand what evolution is. Now, as you can see, this picture of a turtle, which is one of the oldest born animals of the world, is just as old. It was born in 1832, and 1832 is the year when Charles Darwin, he took this voyage on the HMS Beagle, which was a ship. It was a small ship as compared to the larger ships that were coursing the planet those days from the European lands, and they were Captain Thomas Cook had just discovered Australia. Before that, Australia was not part of the map of the world. And so, as compared to that, it was a very very small ship on which Darwin was appointed as a naturalist. And he went on this ship. So evolution, the theory of evolution given by Darwin is not all that old. It's a very modern theory, I must say. It was he took a lot of time in formulating the theory. First, of course, he took this voyage. He was on the ship for 4.5 years. He was collecting samples and specimens and birds and feet and feather and bills and all different types of animals that he was getting, and he was taking notes very extensively. And from there, then he was also writing letters to his sister about all his discoveries. And then he comes back to England, and he takes 17 years in writing his magnum opus that was called The Origin of Species, on the origin of species. And this book had the impact of a Bible. This is by now one of the most widely read books on the world, and this is by now one of the most powerful influences on the thinking philosophies of people ever since this book has been written. So, he suggested, according to in this book, Charles Darwin suggested that all species descended from a common ancestor. And in millions and millions of years of small incremental changes that have happened because of natural selection and because of the genetic and chromosomal diversity, today we have these millions of species of plants and animals, and we also have billions of species of plants and animals like the dinosaurs that have gone extinct. Now, this was something that was very difficult for people, especially people who assumed that they come from great civilizations, that they are at the crossroads of the progress of human civilization. They found it very difficult to believe that once upon a time their ancestors was a chimpanzee, or once upon a time their ancestor was basically a dinosaur. But this presence of a common ancestor is central to the theory of evolution that Charles Darwin gave. And after him, uh, a lot of very, very eminent scientists, very, very eminent scientists, who studied the animal world, who studied the birds uh, and the animals and the wilderness areas, they came up with new theories. Say, for example, Sir Aldo Leopold, who is considered to be the father of the modern conservation movement of the world. He was an American naturalist, and he was somebody who was very, very appalled by so much of ecological destruction at the hands of the farmers. And he wrote a book that was called the Sand County Almanac. That was again the one and only book that he wrote in his lifetime, but it was good enough for him to be considered and still be acclaimed as the father of conservation biology till date. And he spent his time at a farm, and he spent his time noticing the phenology, the development of plants and fruiting and flowering and growth. And he was very much against the farmers' overutilization and over consuming the sand, the land, and the resources, the natural resources. But of course, he died pretty young. He could not live a very long life, but he made a very profound impact on how we think and how we should be utilizing nature. Then there was Sir Peter Scott. Sir Peter Scott was a British naturalist, and if any one of you know what is the WWF, that is the World Wildlife Fund for Nature, it has a beautiful black and white panda as its mascot. And this mascot of a panda was actually painted by Sir Peter Scott. Sir Peter Scott, again, he worked with the BBC, but he was somebody who was completely devoted to a lake. at Slimbridge in the UK, and he lived by the lake, and he maintained these observations of the ducks and geese in the lake all the time. 100% of his time he had breakfast with them. He woke up and he saw them. He slept with the cackling of the geese. So that kind of a devotion, he showed. Then there was E.O. Wilson, another very, very devoted geneticist. Basically, he was an entomologist, and another great conservationist. And then our very own Dr. Salim Ali. Yesterday, it was the birthday of Dr. Salim Ali. Dr. Salim Ali is considered to be the Birdman of India. He is considered to be the first conservation biologist of India. He got the Padma Bhushan, he got the Padma Vibhushan, and one of his Dr. Salim Ali's most prominent fans were Mrs. Indira Gandhi, who herself was quite a naturalist. And there are letters exchange between Mrs. Indira Gandhi and Dr. Salim Ali, and how she respected him so much that at his recommendation, she declared the Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary as a protected area. It is now maintained by the Government of India as the Keladev Ghana National Park. Later, after Dr. Salim Ali died in 1987, after him, the Salim Ali Bird Sanctuary was named, and still, he is one of the most revered bird scientists of the country. His book is like a Bible for anyone who is trying to study the birds, and he has also written his biography named The Fall of a Sparrow. Now, look at how scientific inquiry makes a great scientist of a common boy. I will tell you the small story of Salim Ali, because you are all young students I'm speaking to right now. Salim Ali was 17 years old when he lived in Bombay. This was during the British Raj period. And and Bombay, as you know, Bombay is Mumbai, the present day Mumbai, is in the Western Ghats. It's evergreen forests everywhere, and it has very good biodiversity. Salim Ali was very fond of going shooting for birds to eat with his cousins in Bombay. So there was this day when he went to the jungles somewhere across Pali Hill where he lived, and he shot a bird there. He shot a bird thinking that it's a sparrow. But when this bird fell down and he collected it, he saw that there is a small patch of yellow feather on the throat of this sparrow. Now, this didn't let him rest. He wanted to know whether this is a sparrow, or this is a diseased individual, or this is some other bird, some other species. If he was a sleepyhead, he would have either thrown it away, not paid any attention, or he would have simply slaughtered it and eaten it. But the fact that he took it in its hand and he saw that this is a different kind of a bird, took him all the way to the Bombay Natural History Society, where a British naturalist, a great British naturalist, Sir A.O. Humes, was serving there. And he showed this specimen to him. And that began for Dr. Salim Ali a lifetime journey of studying birds and becoming the Birdman of India, and becoming a Padam Shri, and becoming a Padam Bhushan, and becoming a Padam Vibhushan, and getting this kind of an international recognition all over the world for his knowledge of birds. And at the same time, he had tremendous power of writing and articulation and language. So he wrote this book called the Handbook of Birds of India, which has an account of all the 1260 species of birds of India. And these accounts are written in beautiful poetic language, very, very good expressions. So why I have shared this story of Dr. Salim Ali and the fall of the sparrow. This is how young people can be motivated. They can ask questions, they can make inquiries, they can reach out to others who can mentor them and who can guide them, and then they can follow it as a passion of a lifetime. following it as a passion of a lifetime, which is what he did, and which is why today he's one of the most respectable figures of the entire country, and I must say the entire international sector of bird science. Next, I'm trying to show you the picture of Sir Conrad Lawrence. He was also a scientist, a Nobel Prize winning scientist. You can see how proudly he's holding a duck on his arms, and there's another goose standing right next to him. These ducks and geese, they followed him like a parent, because just by keeping them, by rearing them, by observing them, Sir Conrad Lawrence gave the theory of imprint, which for psychologists is one of the most important theories of learning. As you know, psychologists depend quite a lot on the Pavlovian experiments that they conducted on um, by ringing bells and salivating dogs, and that's how we have these theories of learning. And these theories of learning come out to be very, very useful in education, in pedagogy, in ELT also. I'm sure how children learn and how adults learn and what are the differences. And we have to be thankful to all these men and women who studied animals, who conducted experiments on animals like the geese and the ducks, like the dogs, and even with the cats, you know, to experiments on learning. So that's why I have given you these examples of these five great men who studied birds and animals and who came across these theories, because these are all theories that confirmed evolutionary biology. These are all theories that have confirmed evolutionary biology. So much can happen on a ship. What I am showing you is the voyage of the Beagle, that one trip of 4.5 years that Charles Darwin took on this small ship changed the world in every big or small aspect that we have learned to think of. You know, the dark medieval ages, they were so dark. Um, it's very natural that man has always been intrigued by the question, where am I coming from? That we owe our existence to what? There are theories and beliefs and misbeliefs, one after another, about how we have come to be, how from where we have come, about the origin of life. Before we had Darwin, uh, there were, theories as bizarre and as laughable as this, that there was somebody who gave this theory that if you keep a shirt drenched in sweat in a box covered with a glass, and you leave probably, I don't know what, something along with that, maybe mice or something along with that, then new life will be created. It was so bad. It was so bad. See, it's impossible for us to stop thinking about where have we come from. It's impossible. We have to. We do think of how did we come into being? How did we start existing on the planet Earth? But unless and until we make these scientific inquiries, and unless and until we are broad-minded enough to accept the reality, no matter how discomforting the reality is for us, we have to मुझे देना पानी थोड़ा सा. We have to accept if something like so well supported by evidence comes to us as it does from the voyage of the Beagle, and the final the final publishing of the book by Darwin, of course. So the same difference that was made, if at all you believe in the Noah's Ark. How Prophet Noah, when he was up, Sabne wo story, I'm sure you have all heard about that story, when Prophet Noah was given a warning by God Himself that there is going to be a flood, a worldwide flood, and nothing is going to survive. This flood is going to be so massive. Then he built a boat, and uh, on this boat, he kept one pair of every species. So he was a prophet. He was enlightened enough. He knew that if he has to survive as Homo sapiens on the planet, then he can't survive alone. Then he has to do it with the help of other species. And that's why he had the foresight and the insight to be able to, build this ark and be there on this ark. So this is what, even if you are a prophet, this is what scientific inquiry and acceptance of the truth, whether it is uncomfortable to you or not, it does to the world, and it establishes you as a legend like Noah, a legend like Darwin, or a legend like all these five scientists whose pictures I showed you and about whose little work I gave you some little inkling. So I think all that I wanted to say. I will end my presentation here. Um, okay.
Thank you,
So,
ma'am.
yeah, you're most welcome. So I'm ending my presentation with this final message to you because I think I have over exceeded my time. I think I was supposed to speak for about 40 minutes, but I have already spoken for 45 minutes. The the one last and final message that I want to leave you with is that a scientific inquiry is the best that you can do to yourself and to your day-to-day life. And whether your age-old beliefs are shattered or not, if it comes from science, if it comes from data and facts and figures, then for your everyday decision making, for your choices, for your preferences, it is best that you go by what scientific inquiry tells you, and and success will not elude you, and mental peace will not elude you, and you will be a blessed soul. So thank you so much. If there are any questions, I'm very eagerly looking forward to the questions.
Thank you, ma'am. It was truly an enlightening and informative session. You made us travel through a scientific timeline. You proved why science is a tool to balance life. Thank you so much. Moving
Right.
on, we will start with the question and answer session. We already have a question. The question is from Twinkle Chauhan. She
Mhm.
asked, what and how do you do it as a naturalist?
See, as I told you, as a naturalist, we have a very interesting job. As a naturalist, we do not work in a laboratory, we do not work with equipment, we do not work with chemicals. We work with nature. So it's our job to collect samples, to take data. So we are armed with our binoculars and with our telescopes, and with these days we have mobile phones. So probably we do not need notebooks, but then there is nothing better than taking notes. So armed with these things, depending on the research objective, our objective could be either to um, assess a population, its status, whether it is endangered or threatened or not, and if it has any conservation value, then what are the conservation implications of the area. So this is what we do as a scientist and as a naturalist. And it's very interesting because we have to be completely in tune with the cycle and the circadian rhythm of nature. So it's not a 9 to 5 job. It's not that you end up in your laboratory at 9 o'clock and you set up an experiment and you're there till the evening. And if it's winters, you have to go to field at 6:30. If it's summers, you may have to go to field at 4 o'clock in the morning, at 3:30 in the so when the birds wake up, you were there with them. When the birds are sleeping, you were back. Um, so it's very interesting to be a naturalist because it's very different. It's different from any. So 50% of the time you are out in nature, you are in the wilderness, and of course 50% of your time you are in front of a computer or you are in your library and you are reading papers and you're reading books and making presentations, writing reports, entering your data, analyzing your data, and writing papers. And so that's actually on two extremes. As a naturalist, you live your life on two extremes, but then creating a balance in that two extremes is it's wonderful. Yeah, any other question?
Thank you, ma'am. She again asked that how did you get the idea of becoming a naturalist?
I got the idea of becoming a naturalist by hating the laboratory at Masfua. Basically, the smell of methane and the smell of gases and chemicals, and uh, exactly, the fact that I do not like the indoors and I much prefer the outdoors. But then no, I think jokes apart, to each its own. To each its own, of course. The laboratory does play a very important role in all kind of scientific progress, and if there are people who like to do that, it's good for them. But I basically have always been an animal lover and a nature lover, so i I decided to, and I was lucky that here in Aligarh Muslim University, there was this discipline of wildlife science which I could pursue for my masters and for my PhD, and I'm very happy that I did.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Is there any other question? Is there anyone else who wants to ask a question? Okay, moving forward, I would like to call upon Manish Mukhi, Chief Organizing Secretary of SPARC, to propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, Manish.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Ma'am, you literally proved that without laboratories, how can we become a science lover, and how can we prove that science can play a big part? Science can play a big role in the society. I, Manish Mukhi, on behalf of Spark, Kareem City College, would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, ma'am. Thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule. We are literally delighted by your deliberation. Thank you so much. Thank you again for building the bridge of science and everyday life between us. Thank you, ma'am. It was a really insightful lecture. We thoroughly enjoyed it. And we will never forget that science is a tool which makes our life, and we can't deny from that. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you for the kind words, and I think all this effort will stand vindicated if this message, it permeates the life of all you young people and how you live and may you all live a very happy long life.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. We are made from nature, and we will get into nature back. So this thought should be continuously coming into our mind that yes, nature is the mother of us, and we should respect it that way.
Yes, yes, yes. If you do that, you will be doing a great service to yourself and to the whole world. I mean, you look at Greta Thunberg. She must be a little younger to you all. She's just about 18 or 19 years old. But how she's taken the whole world by the storm and by her own personal, persuasion, she has even shook the United Nations, and she's challenging the great world leaders about climate change, because you have to live in this world much longer than we have to, and you will take very good care of it because you have to spend a long time here as of now. So it's if you understand the importance of living in harmony with nature, and if you are able to do that in your life, it's great. It's just great. There's nothing else that the world will ask for from you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
थैंक यू मैम, बहुत शुक्रिया,
Thank you so much.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, थैंक यू सो मच।
जी, बहुत शुक्रिया याया साहब, और आपसे मुलाकात भी हुई आज बहुत दिनों के बाद। ये अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म आपने क्रिएट किया है अपने स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, और
जी बहुत शुक्रिया,
मौका
बहुत
दिया।
शुक्रिया, थैंक
बहुत
यू,
शुक्रिया जी, थैंक यू। ओके, गुड नाइट।
गुड नाइट, अल्लाह हाफिज।
With this, we come to the end of today's talk. It was indeed a great session. Thank you all for joining us. We will be looking forward to mark your presence in the following days of Science Festember. Thank you all.
थैंक यू सो मच। मनीष, सुजैन,
Yes, sir.
मनीष,
सर सुजैन नहीं है शायद, नेटवर्क इश्यूज की वजह से शी हैज लेफ्ट।
ओके। तो परसों के लिए असल में हम लोग थोड़ा सा बात करना चाह रहे थे कि कैसे करना है, व्हाट इज हर प्लान एंड व्हाट वी, मतलब मोई सर और हमने क्या सोचा है, थोड़ा सा हम लोग एक इंट्रैक्शन करना चाह रहे थे। तो कैसे पॉसिबल है ये?
सर कल हम लोग कॉलेज में मिल रहे हैं, कल एक बार डिस्कस कर लेते।
मोई सर नहीं रहेंगे ना? कल शाम में तो है ना हम लोगों का सेशन नफीस वाला?
यस सर।
ओके, तो हम लोग कॉलेज में सुजैन को बुला लो, कॉलेज में हम डिस्कस कर लेंगे, और नहीं होगा तो मोई सर को हम लोग वीडियो कॉल पे ले लेंगे,
यस सर, वो ठीक रहेगा।
है
तो
ना?
कल हम लोग संडे क्लासेस के लिए आ रहे हैं, तो उसी टाइम पे डिस्कस कर लेंगे आपसे।
हाँ 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 हाँ, वहीं हम लोग मोई सर को वीडियो कॉल पे टेकअप कर लेंगे। ठीक है फिर, चलो, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सब लोगों का जो अभी भी हैं। अब आप बिल्कुल लीव कर सकते हैं। और लेट से शुरू करने के लिए मतलब अपोलॉजीज, क्योंकि थोड़ा आधा घंटा आपका टाइम लगा।
मैम जब मैं खत्म किया उसी वक्त आई थी या पहले आ गई थी?
नहीं नहीं, बिल्कुल आप लास्ट वाला पढ़ रहे थे कोटेशन या क्या, तभी आई थी।
अच्छा अच्छा,
हाँ
चलिए ठीक
जी,
नहीं तो
वो बिल्कुल कोइंसाइड कर गया एकदम।
चलिए ठीक,
चलिए, ठीक ठाक हो गया ये भी।